Hi there, welcome to this class. In this class, we're going to be talking all about the interface, specifically about the event graph area. And this is an area that we're going to be spending a lot of time in when it comes to making blueprints. We'll start talking today about the nodes within the blueprint on the event graph. One of these is the print string, which we might find we start using quite a lot. It's really helpful when it comes to programming. So as I'm already here in the event graph, you can see that I can navigate it just with the mouse. I can use the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and to zoom out. And it zooms in and out depending on where I'm pointing with the cursor, just as you would in the editor. You can use the right click or the mouse button. It opens this window here where we've got a whole list of different nodes that we can use. And you can click anywhere and it brings up the list. You can select any node that you want. You can search for it as well. For example, we can search for print. We only need to type the first part and it shows us here, print string. If we click on that, it will pop up just there on the event graph. And we can just move it about by clicking and dragging. Okay. So just click and hold it to drag it around. To delete it, just click and delete. And that's how you navigate and move about the nodes. Pretty cool, right? Let's take it one step further. Here in this window, you may notice there are a whole list of nodes, loads in fact, and we probably won't be using all of them in our particular sector or field of expertise. But you also notice they're all listed and categorized under subheadings, which is really useful. Now, although we won't be using all of the nodes, the ones that we will be making use of, we'll make sure that we explain them in a easy to understand way. As we progress during the course, we'll go into even more depth, okay? A key thing though is that we want to put them into practice, not just tell you what they are, but show them to you in practice so you can see how they work, okay? And hopefully some of you who have some experience will benefit, but those who don't have any experience will benefit too. Now, the most common type of searching is to type and search. If we have an idea of the name, we just type it and it will suggest what we want to use. Now, there is a nice resource here. Unreal gives us this context sensitive feature. When we click the screen, now all the nodes that open up will show us anything. But if I click and just drag from a node, everything listed here will be context sensitive. So it analyzes the node that I'm pulling from and will only show me the other features that I can use, features that are compatible with the node I'm pulling from. Make sense? So let's suppose I will create a print string again. I'm pulling from that node and I'll just click and it should work. Okay. So you can see that it's connected, no problem. So something connected to the event begin, it looks lit up like this. It's not dull as it was before. It means it's going to work. Just deleted those two out, just get them out of the way, give us a clearer screen. So that is all connected. I forgot to mention also that another feature in the scrolling with the mouse, you can click with the right click and just drag left and right. Okay, so that will give you the ability to pan across the screen. If I click here, it will show the nodes related to the print string. And very often we can just type in the node that we're thinking about, but it might not be shown. We might not be able to find it. Now, we might know it exists, but it's not showing up. So why is that? Well, that's because of context sensitive being on. The node we're trying to find isn't available because it doesn't think we need it. Maybe it doesn't think it makes sense to use it, but it might be that through our experience, we know it will work. Okay, so we can then just untick context sensitive. Now, sometimes when you compile, things don't work. And that might be because we added something that doesn't make sense. So only use that if you're sure that what's not under the context sensitive will actually work. Okay, so in context sensitive, I'll show you an example just so we have an idea of how it works. Now, there's no need to worry about the node that we're going to be using here, but hopefully this will help us, okay? We'll talk about it later with the specific node we're using. We use one of the first nodes that we'll use in the class. Let's use relative. Okay, so I'm going to just type in set relative. Okay, and then we have it listed under here, these different suggestions. Because we've got context sensitive enabled too, that helps. So I'll add the rotation, set relative rotation, static mesh, right? Cool. So we'll use that. So I've created my node, which I've already brought in with my static mesh. So that's all there. I'll explain all of this later, but just so you understand how this works. Okay, so I'm going to explain all of this later on, so don't worry too much about what these actually do. Under this, though, when we type in set relative, it's giving me a list, isn't it, of quite a few different options. You can see there's a number of nodes here, right? Now, for example, if we use the variable here, and if I want to drag out and add something to that, I've got context sensitive on, and I put set relative in the search. What do we have? A very limited number of nodes that will work. So Unreal is basically helping me here. It's only showing me what's related to the variable, only the options that are compatible. Okay, rather than just giving me a whole list of everything within the world of blueprints. Now, let me make clear, it doesn't matter specifically what all these things do. We just want to illustrate what context sensitive does and what it doesn't do. Here, when I've turned it off, now we've got loads of different options showing, and that could be quite confusing for us, okay? So this is basically how context sensitive works and how it helps us. For me, I usually keep it turned on unless there's something that I specifically know will work that's not being shown up here, okay? So this is how Unreal works. It's trying to help us, just put in front of us what will work. Now, coming back to this, which was, I know I did move on quite quickly. Here's something that's really helpful. We've right-clicked to type in our print string. We pull out from event begin play. You can just drag and plug it in. So that's connected. If I want to disconnect it, let's suppose I made a mistake, just press Alt and it unpins it. It's almost like unplugging the item, right? I can just click Alt and disconnect anything and it reverses my action, okay? Now, if I want to copy this node, I just use Control and W and it pastes a copy. Or I can do Control C and Control V, copy and paste. But Control W is quicker, right? Let's suppose I want to connect these two and they're connected, and then I want to move this connection from here to here to the other one. I can just delete that with Alt and then click and drag to reconnect. Now, an easier way is to hit Control and drag, and it will move the connection, right? Now, these are just the basic workings of nodes and some tips that will help us. In the next class, we'll go a little bit deeper, okay?